everyone. It's Anthony Bandiero, attorney and senior legal instructor for Blue Gold Law Enforcement Training, bringing you a roadside chat from our beautiful new studio. All right, so this question comes from an officer in Nevada, and so basically the gist of this is that he's been asked to assist with some parcel interdiction because he's a canine handler, and the other officers, they want him to run his dog around some luggage when the bus comes in to the terminal, and he's wondering if that's legal. I think that the officers here instigating this probably have a tip that somebody on the bus is transporting a large amount of narcotics, and they want to see if they can do it the easy way, which is get a dog alert. Then we can kind of go from there. All right. So a couple of ground rules. Number one is that we know from Illinois versus Caballes that a sniff itself, the sniff itself is not of a Fourth Amendment dimension, right? There is no privacy interest in contraband. So when the dog, if the dog lawfully sniffs a piece of luggage, that sniff in itself is not a Fourth Amendment issue. Okay. The next thing we have to know is, do we actually have to seize the luggage in order to facilitate the sniff? See, that's going to be the issue in this case, right? Because if we don't have probable cause that a particular person on the bus is engaged in criminal activity and that evidence of that criminal activity is in their luggage, if we don't have the probable cause, which would mean we have the Carroll Doctrine, if we don't got that and we just want to kind of pursue, especially like a free air sniff, well, the next question is, are we seizing their luggage, right? Seizing a property under the Fourth Amendment, and this comes from a case called Jacobson, is essentially when you intentionally interfere with a person's possessory interest, and that interference meaningfully interferes with their possession, right? Okay, so that's a roundabout way of saying if you mess with people's stuff and they cannot use their property as intended, well, essentially that's going to be a Fourth Amendment seizure. Okay, so let's go back to our bus. If the bus driver is unloading the luggage and the officer just runs his dog around the luggage before anybody's trying to pick up their luggage, let's just say we have a kind of a lull here, right? People are getting off the bus and the dog just sniffs the luggage, then we should be okay. If the dog alerts, then that gives us PC. We would still need a recognized exception. I would be careful of using the motor vehicle exception here because the luggage is not on the bus anymore. The alert will come after the luggage has been removed from the motor vehicle. However, that would give you probable cause. We can kind of go from there. Now, if somebody's trying to come over and grab their luggage and they cannot grab their luggage because you have this dog sniffing their luggage, well, that is going to be, I believe, a deprivation of their property, right? Because you are now meaningfully interfering with the possessor interest. They would love to come over and just grab that luggage and kind of walk away, but they can't do it because there's a 100-pound Malinois, sniffing their luggage. Got to be careful with that. What if the passenger is, talking to another passenger or whatever, not looking to get their luggage right now or going to the restroom, and you take out their bag, and you move it in order to facilitate the sniff? I don't think that's going to be a problem. That's not a meaningful interference with a person's possessory interest. They're not looking to kind of possess it right now. Other people are handling their luggage, the driver and so forth. They're not there. I don't think that's going to be an issue. So that same type of scenario happens frequently in the UPS, FedEx context, where a handler will take a package off a conveyor belt, have it sniffed, and put it back if it doesn't alert. There's never been a case. There are some states that are more restrictive, like Minnesota, but generally speaking, there are really no cases under the Fourth Amendment that have found that is a Fourth Amendment seizure because, again, there's no meaningful interference. A good case is United States versus Pena. It's 11th Circuit, 2016. Essentially, this is a case where a canine handler walked his dog around the bus. It alerted to the passenger storage area. They got consent from the passenger at issue, the defendant here, and ended up searching it, and they found narcotics. So this wasn't search of the motor vehicle exception. You have to be a little bit more specific about where the alert is coming from. I'd be very careful about a dog alerting on a Greyhound bus and then saying to yourself, I can search everybody's luggage. You should try to source the alert by pulling the bags out and so forth. The last thing is, all right, Anthony, you talked about not having, PC. You talked about having PC. What about with reasonable suspicion? What can we do there? All right. With reasonable suspicion, you are most likely going to be able to remove the luggage from the bus and have it sniffed by the canine. Yes, that is a depossession, right, in a Fourth Amendment sense. However, it is a minimal interference with their property. You're trying to confirm or dispel your reasonable suspicion, and canines are often used to do that. United States versus Place is a good kind of a go-to Supreme Court case that talks about issues with canines and luggage and reasonable suspicion and so forth. That basically you could, seize a piece of luggage if you have reasonable suspicion for a canine, but the canine has to be diligently brought to the scene and so forth. Wow, we covered a lot here. So at the end of the day, the takeaway here is that we have some options here, but we got to be kind of careful. Now, before I leave here, guys, a couple things. Number one is if you're a police officer and you have not been to one of my live webinars, pretty much every Wednesday, we do them around 6 p.m., whatever time zone we're kind of traveling. Other instructors teach these, Zach Miller, John Ween, and so forth. I'd love for you guys to join us. Go to bluetogold.com and check out the webinar schedule. Again, almost every single week we have a free webinar, about an hour. Also, if you like what we're doing here, like, subscribe, share with your friends. And until next time, my friends, you stay safe.